Good. Okay, guys, line up. Okay, guys. Right, guys, watch. That's not out of here. Live camera. Guys, as soon as you're ready, we move this center. Get a handshake. Oh, we're gonna move. I don't know. Might be MPs. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Hey guys, center. All right. Great to see you all. Make sure.
Joe Biden, President of the United States, has now arrived on Parliament Hill. He will now, as you've seen, he's made his way inside, and he will address Parliament today. He will meet with the Prime Minister, who you saw, he shook hands with. No fist bump today, an actual handshake. And he will also have a pull aside, a short meeting with Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the official opposition today. He arrived last night, as you saw on this program, and then made his way to an intimate dinner with Prime Minister Trudeau and his wife, Sophie Gregoire Trudeau. And so they have a lot of events planned today. Just take a look here at my notes. So his address to Parliament will happen in about 2 hours, a little over 2 hours from now, 2 p.m. Eastern time. inside here. He is signing a guest book, going through the ceremonial motions. And during these meetings today, he will have quite a number of high-level people from the Canadian government in attendance, and including Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly, the Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry Francois-Philippe Champagne, International Trade, Export Promotion, Small Business and Economic Development Minister Mary Ng, Minister of Natural Resources Jonathan Wilkinson, Defense Minister Anita Anand, and Environment and Climate Change Minister Stephen Guilbeault. And this is all live coverage right now from Parliament Hill in Canada. Ottawa. In addition, and this is something to really take note of, the two Michaels, Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor, will be attending the President's address to Parliament. Two Michaels who were held in captivity for over 1,000 days in China. And then they will also be attending a formal dinner this evening with the President. And as we saw yesterday, Member of Parliament Han Dong, Liberal, resigned. He's now sitting as an independent following a report from Global News that alleges he spoke to the Chinese government, a Chinese diplomat, back in February of 2021 about their incarceration, and may have, if this report is correct, may have delayed their release because of what the information he exchanged.
In our system.
We do too, unfortunately.
I'm the leader of the largest group in the Senate, majority of members appointed by Prime Minister Trudeau and its reform of the Senate.
Dennis Patterson, Senator from Nunavut, Northern Canada. Nice to meet you, sir.
Up there.
Yeah, and we're going to modernize. We're going to modernize NORAD and guard North America for you.
Good.
Pierre, the leader of the Progressive Assembly, and I think the other one, and I think that the president. Yes. Mr. President, honored to meet you. This is the New Democratic Party, like the Labour Party. You do great things for the Labour Municipal workers to be in the city.
I'm not sure what she's handing him. Piece chocolate bar? A piece of chocolate? A piece? I don't know what that is, but I'll try to find out. As far as I know, she's very supportive of the war in Ukraine. That's bizarre. I'm just checking Elizabeth May's. There he is, signing guest book.
All right, 1 hour? Yeah, 1 hour.
The only good time is if you can talk, just like that.
We'll get it back.
Thank you.
This is actually, was that right? It's Syrian refugees that started in Jordan and Canada. And depending on how tough the questions are, you can share your stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you also very, very much.
Yeah, you go.
I'm good.
And you.
US school,
There you go.
So, how was your stress level?
So off they go into their meeting. So I'm just checking Elizabeth May's Twitter page. She's the leader of the Green Party. She's the one who handed that. It looks like a peace chocolate bar. I haven't seen those. She's saying on Twitter this morning that the Greens have been calling for peace since the war started. But as I recall, they were all in on the war in the beginning. I'm going to look back at some of the old stuff. I want to find out what that peace bar is all about, too. If anybody knows, put it in the chat. Like, is that like a fundraiser thing? Like, you know how kids would sell chocolate bars to raise money for school trips or trips for their hockey teams or ringette? I'm just scrolling way back. Just trying to see what Elizabeth May has been posting, in the months prior to this. I don't think they voted against the war. I don't think she did. I think she voted to give the weapons. I'm checking.
All the way down. Good. Just a couple more. Come. Try to serve with this one.
What a real pleasure it is to welcome President Biden to Ottawa, back to Ottawa. It's so great to see you, Joe. Obviously, we've been working closely together over the past few years on how to build strong economies for everyone in our two countries and around the world, how to continue our fight against climate change and prepare a stronger economic future for everyone, but also how we deal with changing geopolitical security contexts and how we continue the important work of keeping our citizens safe and standing up for our values everywhere around the world. We have no greater friend and ally than the United States, and it's always a real pleasure to be able to welcome you and to sit down with you. C'est un énorme plaisir de pouvoir accueillir le président des États-Unis ici. Joe et moi, nous avons travaillé pendant plusieurs années déjà sur la croissance économique pour tout le monde, la lutte contre les changements climatiques et évidemment sur le contexte géopolitique plus compliqué dans lequel on se retrouve, où on doit constamment défendre nos valeurs et nos démocraties. Mais c'est un grand plaisir d'avoir un grand ami ici.
It's been too long between meetings. And I think 2016 I was here. And, the one great thing, and I tell other world leaders I meet with when they ask about the geopolitical circumstances of the world, I said, we're lucky. We have Canada to our north, share these values. All the values are the same. We disagree in degree on things occasionally, but there's no fundamental difference in the democratic values we share. And it really makes a big difference. And so it's an honor to be here. We have a lot to talk about, and I think we're gonna get a lot done today.
Mr. President, thank you very much. They're all trying to interfere in Canadian elections. What do you have to say to Canada? President, any advice for Canada on dealing with China?
Thank you very much.
Merci. So there they are meeting, and I did find an old speech of Elizabeth May. You know, it's Green parties around the world were united, I guess, in their opposition to a no-fly zone in Ukraine at the time, and but she also stood in Parliament and made it clear that she stands with Ukraine in the war and that they want to use every tool available to assist Ukraine, while at the same time calling for peace. And she is calling for a negotiation, was early on. So I'll give her that. But she wants her cake and eat it too. I'm going to play a little bit of that clip. I'm going to dump out of this for a moment because we just have exterior shots going on here. This was her a year ago.
A champion of democracy. May we be worthy to stand by
Talking to
you.
Zelensky.
May we find the ways that make it meaningful that we stand with you. Not one more lost life, please God. Not one more mother in Russia who weeps for a lost son in an immoral and illegal war. Thank the brave Russians who face jail just to go on the streets and say, stop the bombing, no more war. And I close with this. President Zelensky, what I want, what I pray, and I pray for you constantly, and for Ukraine. What I want is that you come here in person, that we invite you and we see you here, president of a country at peace, of a free, democratic, and victorious Ukraine. Please come here so that we can hope that in your eyes we remain worthy to be called your friend. Thank you.
That was Elizabeth May, leader of the Green Party of Canada. And that was 1 year ago, March 21st of last year. And to me, those words sort of ring a little hollow because they stop well short of a true request for peace. She stood with Ukraine. She's on Ukraine's side. She's taking a side. She has from the very beginning. And as I recall, and I'll have to confirm this. This is just off the top of my head. When they were voting to send military aid, both non-lethal and lethal, I don't think she has voted against it at any point. I think she has consistently voted in favor of sending weapons to Ukraine and money. I'll have to check her voting record on it. I'll have more on that tonight at 6 p.m. And we will continue to cover this live today with Joe Biden meeting with Trudeau and other government officials in Ottawa. So we saw the photo op there. We heard a little bit of what was said. The audio was not that good during portions of it, but you could hear what was said. And he did shake hands with Pierre Poilievre, Jagmeet Singh of the NDP, and Elizabeth May. And does anybody, I couldn't see in the chat, does anybody know what it was that Elizabeth May from the Green Party gave him? It looked like a chocolate bar, a peace bar, which is, that's cool. And even if she's changed her position on the war and is calling for peace, then, this is my personal take on it. Awesome. Let's get to peace. Let's get a ceasefire. Let's get to the negotiating table and let's stop sending weapons over there. Let's stop sending all of our tax money so that it can be laundered through Ukrainian banks and then who knows what. Just saying. That we know that Ukraine has been and continues to be one of the most corrupt countries in the world, and governments around the world are sending all this money over there, and we know that they can't account for it all. And they can't even account for the weapons that they're sending over there. We've shown you that they're ending up on the black market and the dark web for sale. You want to buy a rocket launcher? Just take a quick look on the dark web and you can get yourself a deal. It's all there, man. I don't recommend it, by the way. My guess is that if you were to purchase something like that and try to import it into Canada or the US, you might have the authorities down your throat pretty quick. But it's all out there. And in other countries, that's what the process is for arming terrorists and others who would seek to turn those weapons against us, use them against us, our own weapons that we pay for and shipped over there. So that was some irony there, some hypocrisy perhaps on the part of Elizabeth May from the Green Party. For me, that just upstaged the whole darn thing, that peace bar. Looks like a chocolate bar. this. Well, we'll stick with the feed. We'll keep the chat open because we have the live coverage continuing here out of Ottawa, where Joe Biden is now in that meeting with Trudeau, and they are discussing everything from trade to the war in Ukraine to NORAD. No doubt they'll be talking about China. And isn't it interesting to see that the two Michaels will actually be at tonight's formal dinner with the president? The two Michaels who were held in captivity for over 1,000 days. Two Canadians held in captivity for over 1,000 days by the Chinese government. And just yesterday, because of additional leaks from CSIS, the Canadian Security and Intelligence Service, Global News came out with a report alleging that Member of Parliament Han Dong, Liberal, spoke about Kovrig and Spavor with a Chinese diplomat in February of 2021, and that correspondence may have delayed their release. Allegations he is aggressively denying, saying that he's innocent, and all of that coming at a time when there's extreme scrutiny over Chinese election meddling and the flow of money. Where did it go? How deep was the influence? We know that the Chinese were involved in election meddling. That shouldn't surprise anyone. I think just practically every country engages in it to one degree or another in every country, trying to exert their influence. Question is, how deep did it go? How much influence was there? Did it affect the outcome? So Biden will be addressing Parliament at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And then later this afternoon at 3:45, there will be some sort of a media availability opportunity there. So at 3:45, basically a scrum or a news conference. So expect to see Trudeau and Biden behind lecterns with the microphones, answering questions from journalists. So we should be able to pick that up live as well at 3:45. So a lot going on today. Right now, because they're in that meeting, everything is sort of on a in pause mode for us, because we're not allowed to go in there. What they're saying is all being said behind closed doors so they can speak freely. That's the way these things work. When they come out, many, many questions will be asked. Will we get the truth? Who the heck knows? They always say what they're going to say, right? And then the truth comes out in their actions later. So what else are they going to be talking about in there? I guess what's on the agenda is they're going to be talking, of course, about NORAD. You heard reference to that as he was shaking hands with the dignitaries. And they will be discussing Arctic defense, ongoing support for Ukraine, the situation in Haiti, the green economy. No doubt they'll be talking also about the banking crisis. It isn't highlighted, but it has to be one of the subjects that is topping the agenda. The economy, the banking crisis, that underpins everything, doesn't it? That's also about the viability, the long-term stability of the Canadian and especially the US currency globally. They're also supposed to talk about Biden's Buy America approach and Canada's need to compete in the face of Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, which honestly, as I've read it, is a recipe for increased inflation because all it does is spend more money. It really doesn't do anything to address inflation other than give people more free money, which just fuels more inflation. And Biden's plan really does put other countries at something of a disadvantage, in particular Canada, because of the subsidies and the free money that they hand out, not just to individuals, but also to companies. So that's one of the things that will be discussed, is being discussed actually right now behind closed doors. The other big issue, especially for Canada, is the influx of, I'll call them illegal immigrants coming into Canada, especially through Roxham Road. Of course, the politically correct term these days is irregular immigrants, or they refer to it as irregular migration, which means they just come in without proper identification, without going through the proper channels to immigrate into the country to live here. So they're going to be addressing the 20-year-old Safe Third Country Agreement that is contributing to the ongoing influx of migrants flowing into Canada through the United States. And these migrants, arriving here from poorer countries, south of Mexico, making their way up through Mexico, through the US, and then all the way into Canada, and from other countries around the world too. Thousands of them. It's a big issue for Canada. It's something that Trudeau has generally, sort of not really acknowledged much. He doesn't talk about it a lot. It's more of an issue for conservatives than it is for people on the liberal side. And then tonight, once the meetings have kind of wrapped up, Biden and his wife, the First Lady, and the rest of the American delegation will attend a gala dinner this evening, which will be hosted by Trudeau and his lovely wife, Sophie Gregoire Trudeau, along with a few hundred guests at the Canadian Aviation and Space Museum. And that will happen at 6:30 p.m. this evening. I wonder what they're eating. Well, I have the menu. The first course will be cedar salt and seaweed crusted rare sea red East Coast yellowfin tuna, along with white bean hummus, cucumber, pickled radish, and bitter greens. And there will also be flaxseed cracker and lemon parsley emulsion. Now, that was just the first course. Then they move on to the main course. No crickets that I'm seeing. However, they will be feasting on Alberta beef braised short rib. Yes. Climate change, be damned. They will eat the beef, along with some butternut squash puree and Yukon Gold potato pave. And then they'll move on as part of the main course to wildflower honey roasted carrots and fine green beans. Oh, and then there will be wine from Pelee Island. Very appropriate. They do have a fine winery over there. For those of you who don't know, Pelee Island is, I think it's Canada's most southern point. It's an island in the middle of Lake Erie, and they have a great little winery over there. And then for dessert, they will have wild blueberry and Quebec maple mousse cake, screech rum, caramel, and sweetgrass meringue, and fresh berries. I would feel better if they were eating the crickets, because it's a great source of protein and it's better for the climate. And they would be supporting industry in Canada because they have that new cricket farm factory facility only about an hour from here. Why don't they have crickets on the menu? And I thought we weren't supposed to be eating beef because, you know, cows, methane, climate change. Just saying. Wonder if any of the journalists will ask that question as they at 3:45 this afternoon. And they should be, you know, leading by example, right? Shouldn't they be setting a good example and encouraging all of us to eat the crickets? I wonder why. No crickets on the menu. Maybe it's just not in vogue yet. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. So I think what we'll do here is I am going to just fade off into the background here for a little bit. We'll just leave the feed up and we'll continue to monitor. You guys can hang out in the chat and we'll wait for this meeting to conclude, and then we'll come back on, and where appropriate, I'll jump back in and offer some commentary, and maybe we'll go to the phones at some point here as well. 12:20 p.m. right now, Eastern Standard Time. This is live coverage of Joe Biden's visit to Ottawa, the nation's capital. And our coverage will continue through the afternoon. Stay with us. There's a lot more to come. You guys, I'll see you in the chat over there. We'll just keep the video feed going, and that way we'll be sure we don't miss a darn thing this afternoon as the president's meeting continues with Justin Trudeau and cabinet ministers. I have to say, that's the best chat I've seen in a long time. Hypocrites. Thank you. Anyway, back to the chat.
Oh.
You're probably gonna get us.
You know, go take an Uber ride. They,
Oh, there's a control. He didn't get us back. I was like, did you grab two more? Oh, no.
No, I was actually okay when we got out of the car. It was fine. And then the thing was, Terry had told me was shoot this, and then get to the car, and then we'll move on. While he was coming out of the car, Terry's like, "Okay, everybody go." So I'm on him when everybody's moving.
Right.
I can't run,
no, you can't.
and so I went to the side, and then he's like, "Oh, you didn't make it." I'm like, "That's all right." I still got them. You were glad. Good thing you were there. Too.
Yeah, I had him.
He's like, "Go."
Go. And then we all ran in front of him.
I also don't. Like, why? Get shots and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No, everybody's got to have their own.
There's like the Canadian version, and there's the American one.
Yeah.
26 people to see American.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All the white bands. I thought, oh, that's a portable hospital. It was all media.
25.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
So this is the photo op. Probably what will happen here, because I've been in these situations before, is the media's in, you get a chance to shoot your video, and then they take all the media out after you get the pictures of them sitting around the table. You don't actually get to stay in there and listen to what they have to say. That was simply a photo op. They don't leave you in there. They let select journalists in to get photos, the ones who are approved. You have to pass a security clearance, and then you get your shot. You're in there for just a moment, and then they whisk you out. And then they close the doors. They have their meeting, and that is the way it goes. So that ends that portion of the live coverage. We will need to sign off here for a short time. We'll be back, though, this afternoon because Biden will address Parliament at 2 p.m. this afternoon. If there are other events through the afternoon, we'll bring you all of that live as well. And then at 3:45, following the address to Parliament, there will be the live coverage of the Scrum, the news conference that will follow with Biden and Trudeau answering questions. So we'll leave it at that for now. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in this afternoon to participate in the chat and to pick up this coverage, our coverage, live coverage of Joe Biden's visit to Canada, which is ongoing right now. We'll be back this afternoon. Thank you, and I will catch you shortly again on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.